Please be seated. The court is now in session. Today the chamber will hear testimony of a civil party, that is through TCCP 236. Ms. Sakovati, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals to today's proceedings. Greffier, Mr. President, for today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present, except Mr. Pek-ong, the national political lawyer who is absent today for personal reasons. Mr. Nunchi is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his right to be present in the courtroom. The waiver has been delivered to the greffier. The civil party who is to testify today, that is to TCCP 236, is ready to be called by the chamber. Thank you. President, thank you, Ms. Sakovati. The chamber now decides on the request by Nguyen Chie. The chamber has received a waiver from Nguyen Chie, dated 27, says the President, June 2016, which states that due to his health, that is headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requests to waive his rights to be present at the 28 June 2016 hearing. Having seen the medical report of Nguyen Chie by the duty doctor for the accused at the ECCC, dated 28 June 2016, which notes that Nguyen Chie has a flu and back pain, and it becomes severe when he sits for long, and recommends that the chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the chamber grants Nguyen Chie his request to follow today's proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs via an audio-visual means. The chamber instructs the AV unit personnel to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nguyen Chie can follow. That applies for the whole day. And the chamber will issue an oral ruling regarding the accused upon request for clarification of the scope of internal purchase in case 002/02. The trial chamber is seized of an urgent request for the clarification of the scope of the topic of internal purchase in case 002/02, filed on 24 June 2016 by the accused upon's defense, document E420. On 22 June 2016, the accused upon defense circulated a courtesy copy of the request to the parties. On 23 June 2016, the trial chamber informed the parties that it would hear oral submissions at the hearing of 27 June 2016. Having heard the parties' submissions at the hearing of 27 June 2016, the chamber finds that the proposed testimony of civil party to TCCP 236, scheduled to testify today, falls within the scope of internal purchase in case 002/02 as defined in the closing order, as it contains information relevant to the occurrences of purchase in the East Zone. 2. Proceeds to hear civil party to TCCP 236 as scheduled. 3. A reasoned decision will follow in due course. Chamber issues an oral ruling to admit summary document of through TCCP 236, and that is pursuant to Nunchia's defense document E419 submitted on 24 to admit document E22/2479.1 into evidence. It is a summary of the civil party application of civil party applicant that is through TCCP 236, who is scheduled to testify today. The Chamber also notes the responses by the elite co-lawyers for civil parties via an email yesterday afternoon concerning the matter. The Chamber deems the document related to the testimony of civil party through TCCP 236 and could assist in the ascertainment of the truth in this case. For that reason, the document is admitted as evidence in the case. And the new name for this document is E3/4950A. Again, E3/4950A. And reasons decision will issue in due course. Court officer, please usher the civil party into the courtroom. President, defense team for Kiel Sampon, you may have the floor. And court officer, please wait for a moment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Simply to request clarification regarding the decision that was issued. If I understand well, we will be provided with a more comprehensive decision with regard to the issues that we raised. But you said that today that these issues are not raised for the civil party. I see that Judge Lavergne is nodding, so I have understood the decision, but I want to be sure of this.
Yes, your understanding is correct. And court officer Arun, please usher the civil party into the courtroom. President, good morning, civil party. What is your name? Civil party, my name is Chun Samon. Question. And Mr. Chun Samon, when were you born? Do you recall the detail or at least the year? Answer. I was born in 1957. Question. And where were you born? Answer. I was born in Thmai village, Ksat commune, Kampong Ro district, Svay Rieng province. Question. And where is your current address? Answer. I live in the same native village. Question, and what is your current occupation? Answer, I am a rice farmer. Question, what are the names of your parents? Answer, Chundam is my father and Sokham is my mother. Question, and what is your wife's name and how many children do you have? Answer, Min Aing is my wife. We have 8 children. President, thank you, Mr. Chun Samon. As a civil party, towards the conclusion of your testimony, you may make a victim's impact statement, if any, concerning the crimes which are alleged against the accused. And Mr. Chun Samon, have you been interviewed by investigators from the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges of the ECCC? Answer, I provided my statement during the proceedings in this court. Question, did you testify before this chamber or did you provide your statement before the investigators? Answer, with the investigators. Question, and do you recall when you provided that statement? Answer, no, I cannot recall the date. But I remember I used to provide a statement. Question, and where did you provide the statement? Answer, they came to meet the victims at our villages and I provided the information. President, in fact, you misunderstand it. The process was between you and the victims support section and not with the investigator. Pursuant to Rule 91B of the ECCC internal rules, the Chamber grants the floor first to the lead co-lawyers for civil parties to question the civil party, and the combined time for the co-prosecutors and the lead co-lawyers for civil parties are 2 sessions.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning to all of you. I'm going to give the floor to my colleague Tisrina to question this civil party.
Yes, she may proceed. Tisrina. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, everyone in and around the court room. And good morning, Mr. Chun Samon. To start with, I'd like to ask you some questions regarding your background. Before 17 April 1975, where did you live? Answer, before 1975, I live in my village, Ksat Commune, Kampong Ru District. Question, and what were you doing at the time? President, civil party, please observe the microphone. Answer, I lived with my parents. Question, and how old were you at that time? Answer, 15 years old. I was 15. Question. So you were still living under the care of your parents, is that correct? Answer. Yes, I was living with my parents. Question. How many siblings did you have? Answer. I have 8 siblings. Question. Were they all living with your parents at the time? Answer. True, got married and there were 6 of us remained. Question. And the two who got married, what were their occupation? Answer. They were rice farmers. Question. I'd like to ask you about the 2 other siblings. Can you tell the court their names? Answer. Chun Hun and Chun Lane. That is my elder sisters, and they got married. Question. Besides the 2 siblings, who else actually wants to work? That is amongst your siblings. Answer. Yes, there was Chun Davi, my elder sibling, also wants to work. Question. And what was Chun Davi working on? Answer. She left to work since 1970, that is during the period of Democratic Cambodia, says the civil party. Questioned. And what was her position or function? Answer. Later on, she went to work at the staff office of the zone. Which zone? Questioned. Answer. It was the East zone. Question. I'd like to ask about your parents. What did they do at the time, and how was their living condition? Answer. They were rice farmers, and they were doing all right at the time. Question. I'd like to ask you about the time that you became a revolutionary soldier. Do you recall in what year that you become a revolutionary soldier? Answer. I became a soldier for Democratic Cambodia in May 1975. Question. Who enlisted you in the army? What was his rank and position? Answer. At that time, Upper Angka made provided instructions through the chains of command down from the district through the commune and the village to recruit the people. Question. And what was the name of the person who enlisted you? Answer: it was Jain, the commune chief. And Son, who was also a part of the leadership in the unit. Question: and when you became a revolutionary soldier, which unit were you attached to, and at which location were you sent? Answer: initially, when I joined, I was part of the district military unit. I was in unit 75, it's called K75, and I was a messenger in that unit. Question: which district military did you join? Answer: it was in Kampong Ro district, Svay Rieng province. Question: you said you worked as a messenger. Can you tell the chamber to whom did you work as a messenger for, and what was his rank, name, and position? Answer: I was a military messenger for a company, and Kam Sakhem was a chief of that unit. Question: you worked as a messenger. Can you tell the chamber from whom to whom did you deliver messages? Answer: I was a messenger delivering messages through the 3 companies within the battalion at the front battlefield. They were the communication about the enemy situation and about the number of enemies at a particular location, so reinforcement could be sent to that particular location. Question: in your unit, and as you said it was K75, can you tell the chamber in which battalion or regiment it belonged? Answer: it did not have a label as a regiment. In fact, it was part of the district military. And as I said, the leaders or the commanders were Yat and Sa, Hun and Saliu. Question: you said you deliver messages to 3 different units. Can you tell the chamber the other 2 units where you delivered the messages to? Answer: they were unit 72 and 68. Question: did you ever attend any meeting when you worked as a messenger? And if so, what was the content of the meeting and who chaired it? And there were occasional meetings, and usually the company chiefs would chair the meetings, and the content of the meetings mainly focused on the enemy situation, and they did not speak about the people's situation during those meetings. Question. Regarding your role as a messenger, did you ever deliver any messages back to your unit? Answer. I mostly sent messages out, and only in some instances I returned messages back to my unit. And the content of the messages mainly was about the forces and the enemy situation.
Question. I would like to ask you about the period that you work as a messenger. How long did you work as a messenger? Answer. I worked from 1975 to 1976, and then I was sent to Sector 23. And I was in Ngo 112. Question. Did you know the reason why you were transferred to Sector 23? Answer. Because they needed the reinforcement, because some of the soldiers died, and that's why they needed more soldiers in order to supplement the loss of the number of soldiers. Question. When was you transferred to work in the sector? Answer. In 1976. I came to work in 1976, and I was sent to work in the special unit. Question. So you mean that you were assigned to be a soldier in the special unit in 1976? Is that correct? Answer. When I was transferred to Sector 23, I was assigned to join the special unit. Question. When you were in the special unit, was it part of any division or unit? Can you tell us the specific name of that unit? Answer. I was in the special unit of Regiment 112 in Sector 23. Question. Was the 112 was it a regiment or division or what? In Ngo 112, it covered about 3 battalions, and that 3 battalions together, it created that Ngo 112. It had both the battalions and the regiments within it. Question. Who was the chief of Ngo 112? Answer. His name was Townsend Ellis Puen. Question. What was your specific roles when you were in the special unit? Answer. The special unit was responsible for collecting intelligence and gathering intelligent information from the enemy. And after we gather information and we give to our superior, and then the order to attack the enemy could be issued. Question. So where was your special unit based? Answer. It was within Ngo 112, and we had no specific location to base. We was on the mobile when situation required us to go and collect the intelligent information. So as I said, we did not have a specific base. We were on the mobile. Question. So what about the Ngo 112? Where was it based? Answer. Yes, there was a location for the special unit to be based near the Ngo 112. And the chief of the Ngo 112 had a specific office to be standby. Question. Was there ever any meeting organized at your special unit or at the Ngo 112? And if yes, who was in charge of organizing those meetings? Answer. There were meetings, but the meetings were mainly about internal matters. The chief of the unit organized the meeting and advised us about our work regarding the collecting of intelligence information, about the role of soldiers, and he advised us to be careful and be vigilant about our work as soldiers. So those were the message delivered to us during meetings. Question. And mostly, who organized those meetings? Answer. Mostly, my superior organized those meetings in order to remind us to be vigilant. And the meeting took place quite often, and it covered a number of aspects related to our work. Question. Now I would like to direct my question to your work. You said that your unit was on the mobile. So where were you sent to and for what purposes? Answer. We were sent to the border areas, especially when there were tense situations with Vietnam. So wherever there were the bases of the Vietnamese soldiers, we went there to the border areas. For example, in Remy Heights, those are borderland districts where fightings occurred, and we went there to collect information. And in 1976, the Khmer Rouge soldiers and the Vietnamese soldiers fought each other fiercely, and my unit did not have free time. Because there was tense fighting between Khmer Rouge soldiers in Sector 23 with the Vietnamese soldiers in the border areas. That was a very tense fighting. Sometimes we pushed them, and sometimes they pushed us back. And there were many casualties on both sides. And that happened in 1976. It happened along the border. Question. Could you please tell us the name of the areas that you were first sent to? I mean, in which district was it? President, please hold on. Answer. It was in Remy Heights district of Svay Rieng province. The fighting took place in Dong village. It was a very fierce battle. Question. Please tell us about the names of the second place, the third place, and the subsequent places you were sent to. Answer. The important places was in Bawat along National Road 1. There was a very hot battlefield there. And another place at Kampong Ro district. It was the battlefield that we used to engage in fighting with the Vietnamese soldiers. We fought fiercely with the Vietnamese soldiers in 1976 and 77. We never fought against our Khmer soldiers at that time. Question. So what was your specific roles when you were assigned there? Answer. I did the intelligent work. Wherever there was Vietnamese soldier, I was sent there to collect information, intelligent information, for example, about their bases, about their weaknesses and strengths, so that we could plan our attack well, from which direction that we should attack, for example. And the work for the special unit was very tough. because we worked all night long without any time to rest. And my unit fought against the Vietnamese soldiers. And sometimes the Vietnamese also send in their special unit, and we as the special unit from both sides encounter each other and we fought each other. So there were occasions where the special unit from both sides of the country encounter each other and fighting erupted between us. And our work in the special unit was more difficult, tougher than the ordinary military units. Question. After you collected intelligent information, did you send those information to your superior, or you made the decision right at the spot? Answer. We sent the intelligence information to our commanders in order to devise plans for the attacks. Question. You said earlier that there were fightings with the enemy. So could you tell us when did the fighting end? Answer. When we encounter them, we fought against them. Sometimes we defeated them and sometimes we lost and we retreated. So the battlefield did not last for a long time. It was just for some times. But the fighting occurred again and again. Every time we encountered each other, we fought against each other. Question. So, in what year that you were no longer engaged in fighting? Answer. Until 1977. Question. So you mean that the fighting lasted until 1977? Does that mean that in 1997 the fighting was still going on, or it stopped and the situation became peaceful? Answer. The situation became more intense in 1977, because in 1977 the Vietnamese soldiers attacked us and pushed us into Svay Rieng province, and DK forces fought back and pushed the Vietnamese soldiers back into their territory. So it was a very tense fighting. It was a deadly fighting in 1977. It was an attack and counter-attacks that happened that year. Question. So the counter-attack in 1977 ended or it led to ongoing attacks and fighting that went on and on until 1978. Answer. In 1977, there were soldiers sent from the central zone and from the southwest zone. They joined us in fighting, and some of the soldiers were engaged in fighting and some of the soldiers were called back to join the training session. So those at the front line were continue fighting, while some of the soldiers were called back for training session and they disappeared one after another. And that took place at the end of 1977. So the soldiers from the Central Zone and the Southwest Zone came to confiscate guns and weapons from the sector zone of Sector 23. So the question, thank you. I would like to get your clarification. You said that you were at the front line, and when you were engaged in fighting with the Vietnamese soldiers, at that time there were soldiers from the Central Zone sent to join with you. Is that correct? Answer. When we were engaged in fighting with the Vietnamese soldiers, the soldiers from the Central Zone were sent in from behind of us, and some of us were called back for training session, and they disappeared. Question: so the soldiers that sent from the Central Zone, were they sent to fight with the Vietnamese soldiers or what? Answer: yes. They also engaged in fighting. And many of the soldiers sent there were young teenagers. And many of them were killed by the Vietnamese soldiers. Question: you said that when the soldiers from the Southwest Zone were sent to your area and then your commanders were called back for training session. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. The commanders were called for training session. Question: can you specify which commanders who were called back? Answer: the commanders of the East Zone. For example, the commanders of My Ngo 112 and other commanders from the East Zone. And they disappeared. And I'm not sure where they were sent to or why they were disappeared. Question: when the commanders were called for training sessions, did they appoint new commanders to be in charge of your unit? Answer: no, there were no new appointments of new commanders. So the commander disappeared, and as for the various units, it still operated as normal. So we remained in our units until our guns were confiscated. And we were separated and put at specific locations. Question: so how long did it happen between the time that the commanders were called for training session and the unit soldiers were confiscated of their guns? Answer: it took place about 1 month between each other. We were called in and our guns were confiscated, and the soldiers from the center and from the southwest zone, they told us that we had to join force together, and we left our guns there, and we would be sent to study in Phnom Penh, and we would be given new guns. So our force, we were told that our force would be integrated into the force of the center. And after our forces were confiscated the guns, they told us that those who entered the army in 1970 and those who entered in 1975 would be separated.
Question. Allow me to interrupt you, Mr. Subhapati, since I would like to get it clarified. It is a bit fast for me to follow you. So when you were called and your weapons removed, who actually made that call? Answer: it was the Center Army, that is Division 703. Question: what was the instructions that they used to call you so that you would surrender your weapons, and how many of you were called? Answer: there were about almost 300 of us. But of course, I did not do a head count. It is just my estimate. Question: so when you were instructed to lay down your weapons, can you tell the chamber the location? Answer: it was in Romihai district in Trapang Srai commune. Question: how many soldiers from the Center Army who called you to lay down your weapons, and were they armed? Answer: we were called to lay down our weapons, and there were many of them living in a village. However, there were only about 20 or 30 soldiers from the Center Army who actually came to gather our weapons. And of course, they were armed, and then they had to carry the weapons that we surrendered as well. And by that time, we were bare hands. We did not have any weapon with us. Question: you have stated that those who joined the revolution before 75 was put in one group, and for those who joined the revolution after 17 April 1975 was placed in another group. And for those who joined the revolution before 75, can you tell the chamber how many of them there were, and what happened to them after that? Answer: after there were about 300 of them who surrendered the weapons, and later on they were caused to line up and to board trucks for study sessions at the center. But they were not sent to the center, they were sent to Vil Ta Prong instead. As I said, they were called to line up and boarded the trucks. Question: for those who joined the revolution after April 1975, how many of them there were, and what happens to them? Answer: there were only 3 or 4 of us, including myself, and nothing happens to us. And for the ground troops, that is us, we were instructed to reintegrate into Division 703. And for me, as I was part of the special unit, I was reintegrated into the special unit of 703. Then I would show them the location where we laid mines. And after we showed them those locations, we were instructed to board a truck in order to attend study sessions at the center. And so that later on we will be integrated into the center army. So we were instead taken to Vilta Prong, and that was where I saw those soldiers who had previously been transported. So then we knew that it was a lie. They used us to show them where we had laid the mines, and after we showed them all, then they sent us to Vilta Prong. Question: after you arrived at Vilta Prong and you saw those soldiers who had been taken there before your group, can you tell the chamber what happened to your group? What did they do to you? What did they do to you? Answer: all the soldiers were kept at Vilta Prong, and none of us had any weapon anymore. We were instructed to work in a rice field, and we were given hoes to dig the ground, and about 13 or 14 of us would form a group to dig the ground for 1 hectare of land. However, we did not stay there for long. Then there was this so-called event of coup d'etat in 1978. Question: you refer to a coup d'etat. Can you tell the chamber what you meant, and who actually initiated that coup d'etat, and who spearheaded that coup d'etat movement? Answer: I recall that it happened in 1978, that is in August. That was the coup d'etat between the Center Army and the soldiers from the East zones. They fought one another and many of them died. As for me at Vilta Prong, we were so told to dissolve the group. Question: can you tell the chamber if anything happened to you personally or happened to your own group? Answer: during the coup d'etat, some forces came to tell us to disband so that we could return to our respective families. But they were not the East soldiers, they were soldiers from the center, that is from the Southwest zone. Since they spoke with accent, they came on a motorbike to tell us to return to our villages, and that then we would be given new instructions after the Angkar purged the bad elements, that is those with Jun's heads on Khmer bodies. So we returns to our respective families in the villages after we left Ville Taprong. Question. And what happened next? Answer. I returned to the village. Then we were instructed to. In fact, there was a call for those who returned from the battlefield to gather, and the instruction was given to the cooperative, and the cooperative head was afraid and implemented the instruction. So we were called and sent to those soldiers from the center, from the southwest. Then our names were registered, and we were later taken to be executed. Question. So your name was registered, and was it done according to your respective unit? Answer. So, as I said, we were instructed to return to our respective villages. Then Angka from the center came to replace district leadership, and cooperative chiefs were instructed to name those who returned to the villages as a result of the coup d'etat. Then we were told to join the mobile unit, and after the purge, we will be re-enlisted into the army. And that was the policy, and the cooperative chiefs implemented that policy. Question. So after your name or your group's names were registered, what happens to you and your group? And how did it unfold? Answer. There were 29 of us in my unit. They then tied us up, and I protested that I did not know anything. I was simply a combatant in my unit, and if there were any traitors, maybe only the chiefs were traitors, but not us, the ground soldiers. Anyway, we were tied, and there was one soldier who accused us of betraying the parties, that we were having June hats on my bodies. Then I was hit with a butt of a gun. We were all in shock, and nobody dares to protest anymore. And when it was dark, then they tied her up and walked us to be executed. Question. Where were you, that is 29 of you, sent to be executed? Can you describe about the event that happened at the time? Answer. We were arrested, our hands were tied, then when it was dark, we were instructed to walk toward some bull for execution. We were instructed to sit down at the location. There were about 7 or 8 of them who pointed their AK rifles at us. Then 4 of us were untied and taken away to be executed about 20 or 30 meters from where we were. We could hear the screaming, and they killed those people instantly. I was in great shock. I tried to untie myself and tried to run away. Some of us who could not be untied themselves, they had to run as well. But in fact, after I made my protest, we were instructed to strip off our clothes, and we were only in a short, so that when we fled, then they would easily identify us since we did not have any clothes on. And then, as I said, we were lined up tight and walked to the execution location. And when we were trying to flee, some of us whose ties was not removed were shot dead. I myself tried to run away. Question. So they shot those who could not run away because of the tie. And can you tell the chamber about yourself? How you survive the ordeal, for instance? And did you arrive at a creek or a river bank? Did they stop following you, or what happened? How did you survive? Answer. There were 3 of us who could flee. They were chasing us, firing from our behind. I jumped into the river while they were still standing at the riverbank and shooting into the water, but it didn't hit me. So then I swam and crossed into the territory of Vietnam. In fact, we were running the whole night before we could cross the border. And at the border, we also encountered another group of Khmer Rouge soldiers who fight at us, but we were rescued by Vietnamese soldiers who fight back at those soldiers. And we arrived at that location at dawn. Question. So what happened to you when you arrived at Vietnam, and what was the reason for you to return to Cambodia? Answer. I fled and arrived in Vietnam. Then the Vietnamese soldiers received us and treated our wound. By then it was dark. Then they kept us at a location for our security purpose. Then we were called one by one to be questioned about our biography. And we told them that we were soldiers who were taken to be executed. For that reason, we ran away to Vietnam, and that many of us were killed. Then the Vietnamese soldiers nodded their head to express their understanding, and they spoke to us about the fate of the East Zone soldiers and cadres, and we told them that many of them had been killed. We stayed there for 2 days, and they asked what we wanted to do next, whether we wanted to become soldiers again. Then we decided to join the army again and to return to Cambodia to liberate our country. So we were asked all those questions, then we were encouraged to join the army and return to Cambodia. Question, I would like to ask you another question. Did you know or ever hear about any events that East Zone soldiers were executed? That is, besides the events that you just mentioned? Answer. Allow me to go back a little bit. When we were called to register our name, and then we were tied, there was a female combatant who told me that was the 3rd time that we were called to register names, and then we were tied. and she was there to facilitate the process. She only knew that the previous groups had their hands tied behind their backs and sent away. And she told us to be careful that we were the third group, that is a third group of soldiers who registered the names, and that we would be sent away. So I was rather concerned upon hearing from that lady, and that I was afraid that I would die. She told us that, and she could no longer speak, and she waved a little bit. Question: did she tell you about the previous two groups of soldiers from the east zone that were tied, and how many soldiers per each group? President Silpati, please observe the microphone. Answer: there were between 20 to 30 for the first group, and there were about 15 soldiers for the second group, and then we in the third group, and there were 29 of us. President, thank you, lawyer for Civil Party. It is now appropriate for our short break. We take a break now and resume at 20 to 11 to continue our proceedings. Court officer, please assist the Civil Party at the waiting room reserved for witnesses and civil parties, and invite him back into the courtroom at 20 to 11. The court is now in recess.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រោកឈរ